Hi everybody, this week is Insects Week, so the art project I'm setting this week is all going to be about creating your own insect. For that you're going to need cardboard. I've got lots of cardboard, you find it in all sorts of things. Obviously you want to use a side that doesn't have any drawings on or any writing on, unless of course it looks rather good. I wouldn't make that golden rule, but I would try and use just one side of it. The wonderful thing about using cardboard as well is that you can pull the back of it off. It doesn't all come off in one go. If you use a slightly damp sponge and just wipe the back of it until it soaks through, it'll come off a lot easier. Not too damp though. If it's too damp, it'll just go mush. So you can pull one layer off. You can get something that looks a bit like that, which is fantastic. And if we think about insects and their bodies, which is what we're going to be trying to make, that would be quite handy to have a bit of a different texture in there. You also get different sorts of cardboard, so obviously you can get thinner stuff like this. Also, you can get things like this. This is really super thin cardboard, as you can see there. It's still corrugated though, you can still see the ridges in it. This is 2-ply cardboard, which I've got here, which is because it was a packaging box. I would recommend that you use single-ply cardboard, because 2-ply is a bit thick and it's a bit hard. Obviously, you'll also need a pair of scissors, good scissors, not rubbish scissors. They have to be sharp, which means you need to be careful. Also, some glue. You can use Pritt stick if you want, or this sort of thing, but it doesn't work too well. So I'd recommend, if you have got any PVA glue, which I do somewhere, if you have got any PVA glue, which is the white glue that we use in school, you can use that. Or if your parents say it's okay, and they've got one, a glue gun. But like I say, if you're going to use those, be very careful because they get hot, you could hurt yourself. So the person who I like to think of, if I think of these insect drawings, is a person called Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke was a friend of Isaac Newton, so he was around about 300 years plus ago, and he was interested in everything. He was interested in science, he was interested in engineering, he was interested in the planets, he was interested in biology, and it kind of combined them all in his sort of research. He actually is the person that came up with the name cells to describe the cells in our body and the cells in plants, because he looked through a microscope which he'd made at the cells in a cork tree, in the bark of a cork tree, and thought that they looked like the cells that monks lived in monasteries. So he was a pretty influential guy, and he had a big fallout with Isaac Newton over intellectual property. One of the things he did was he made his microscope, and he had to make it by himself. He then looked down the microscope and looked at insects, and looked at them for the first time in absolute amazing detail. And then he drew them. So his first drawing was that of a flea, and you can see a picture of it here. Obviously this is pretty grotesque if you think that fleas and lice and things like that, they were pretty common for people to have them in their clothes, in their hair. So everyone knew what they were, but no one had really seen what they looked like, and they look sort of like monsters, which is quite fantastic. But insects always come with 3 parts. They have the abdomen, which is like their bottom. They have the head, which is where their eyes are and their antennae. And then they have the thorax, which is the bit in the middle, which all their legs stick to. And also the head and the abdomen. So the thorax is like the big joint that everything sits from. Everything is joined to the thorax. Then you have the head at the front, and you have the abdomen at the back. If you think of a bumblebee, or you think of a wasp, wasps are pretty easy. The back end of a wasp is always moving, and that's actually because the abdomen is where the wasp breathes from. It breathes through its bottom, which is quite disgusting. It also has yellow blood, which is even more freaky. So yeah, so I thought what we'd do is I'll have a quick look and see what we can sort of make, and look at the shapes of them, and then use those to start creating a collage using card, different sorts of card, different types to get different textures, different areas of your design, to create a beautiful picture or an object. Okay, so just to give you an idea, or reiterate what I just said, you always have an abdomen, which is the back end. You have a head, which obviously the bit that does the seeing and the eating, and then you have the thorax that sits in the middle. So that is your basic layout of most insects. You will have to choose whether or not you want to do a side view or a vertical view. And if you look online for pictures of them, you don't need a microscope to do that. To have a good look, there's lots and lots of things out there which you can get. Obviously from the head, you'll have the antennae which will stick on. You have the legs, and usually the legs, they have one leg that goes forward and they have two legs that seem to go back. Sort of looks like an ant, doesn't it? If you have a winged insect, then the wings will also fit onto here. So you could have a fly, or if it's a beetle, they'll go over and they'll cover up the abdomen and protect the wings underneath, which are quite delicate. But this is the starting point. You need to have a head, a thorax, which is everything that gets plugged into, and an abdomen, which is the back end. So when you start looking at your insects, try and look really carefully at the details of them. Things like beetles have ridged wings and wing coverings. And I've had a go here at making one. So if you look there, I've used my corrugated card at the back to sort of suggest the ridges that you find on a beetle. I've also cut some of the cardboard away here on the head. So these are the antennae, and the mandibles at the bottom. That's actually his jaw, so that's how he eats things. And obviously in between, you have the thorax with the 6 legs. Remember that insects always have 6 legs. So when you put it all together like so, you end up with your beetle, which I shall turn around actually so you can see it from the other side too. So that's an idea for doing a vertical or a top-on plan view insect. Of course, you might choose to do it a slightly different way. You might choose to do a side insect. So I've had a go at doing that as well. Here I have an abdomen. Here I have a thorax. So that's what everything's going to stick to. And I've got a head. And I wonder if you can guess what this is going to become. It is, well, it'll become more obvious as you go along. I'm also going to put some wings at the back. I've used that again. And with this one here, I think you can work out that it's a grasshopper or a locust, I suppose. Could be either or. So again, with the legs, you always have one facing forward, one facing back, which is usually a bit longer at the end, and that one there. And the last thing I need to do is stick on some of these so I get the idea. So there is my grasshopper or locust. So yeah, there's lots of different things. Obviously I would stick these down onto another piece of card. I really like that as well. If you look at a grasshopper's leg, it does actually do this, and I think that's how they make their sound. They rub their legs together. And I could have gone into more detail as well, put little hairs and things like that on their legs as well. But I also was rummaging through my cupboards and I found some tracing paper. Now you don't have to use tracing paper, but you could use greaseproof paper. That's always a good one. That's from the kitchen. These actually are slightly see-through, which is great. And with this one, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit this on, but I've actually created wings for a dragonfly. Like so. Obviously dragonfly's a bit different. Dragonfly's abdomen is very long, and with this one I actually used the colour on the other side of my cardboard, so I kind of broke my own rule, but that's okay. If it works, it works. So there's his body, and there's his head, and then these stick on the back like so. And then just to cover up this bit here, because it looks a little bit messy, I'm going to stick that on the top. So there you go. I'm going to take you off the wall actually, and so you can have a proper look at him. He looks quite magnificent. I'm quite pleased with him. And you can see at the back there, I've also played with the other cardboard to try and get an effect of his tail. But there you go. That's the idea. Let me know how you do.